What is it that's holding you back, keeping you from becoming everything that God has created you to be, living your purpose and reaching your destiny? Is it self doubt, feeling that you don't measure up to others? Perhaps it's fear or lack of resources, offenses and challenges, maybe even past or current circumstances. Well, I want you to know that these are pathologies, diseases of the mind that negatively impact how you think and perceive things that invade your everyday life. You can overcome these peculiarities and become conquerors, living in the purpose that God has for your life. The Bible in Philippians 4:13 teaches us, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Hello, I'm your coach Dee Johnson, and I'm going to share with you on how you can overcome these pathologies and be all that God created you to be on today's Watering the Seed. Hey seeds, what's up? Welcome back to Watering the Seed, where we don't just talk about healing, we practice it. If it's your first time joining us over here at Watering the Seed, we extend our warmest welcome and to let you know that you've picked a perfect day to join us. So come on in and get comfortable. We're going to grab our favorite beverage today. Mine is flavored coffee. And then we're going to sit back, put our feet up, and relax. Because you know what? You deserve it. You deserve it. Today is a timeout for all of us. And I want you to relax. I mean, really relax and chill. Because today we're talking about burnout. Mm-hmm. And this one's going to be a bit lengthy. I've taken 2 weeks to complete this because I thought it was going to be a one-time deal, but then when I started writing, it just got longer and longer and longer, and I realized the importance of this. So, there will be a part two and a part three. But don't worry, it'll water you well and cultivate growth. So, today I want to start out with a question, okay? This episode is going to start out with a question. And that question is, what did God, the divine creator, create on the Sabbath day? Mm-hmm. Oh, wait. Well, if your answer is nothing, you're absolutely right. Because he didn't create anything on the Sabbath day, he rested. Scripture, Exodus 20, starting at verse 8. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath day to the Lord your God. And in it you shall not do any work. That's what Scripture says. So rest is tied directly to creation. God worked, then rested. Rest is a major part of the design because not only did God rest, but he blessed a day of rest for us and instructed us to keep it sacred. you know, it's a covenant. Rest is right up there with marriage. It's just as important as marriage. Believe it. It's a covenant. Now, I need you to hear me, and I need you to hear me clearly when I say this. Burnout is not always, I'm tired. And I say this because I had been noticing some signs of burnout in a very dear friend of mine recently. And when I addressed it with her, my friend, she responded, I'm not tired. I feel fine. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. Burnout is not always, I'm tired. Sometimes burnout is I'm still getting stuff done. I'm still showing up. I still feel energized. But listen, if this is you, you may be functioning on a system that's overheating and you're calling it purpose. Yeah, you're calling it purpose. So I'm going to pause right here because I need to do this. I need to make sure that we have a clear understanding. So before we start, just a quick disclosure, seeds. I'm not a licensed therapist or a medical professional, and this episode is for educational and inspirational purposes only. Nothing here is meant to diagnose or treat any condition. If you're experiencing symptoms that feel severe, unsafe, or like you may need medical attention, please, please contact a qualified healthcare professional right away. And if you believe you're in immediate danger, call 911 or call your local emergency number. Now, let's get into it. So, I was talking with one of my very good friends recently about rest, or better yet, the lack of it. And I need you to hear this because this isn't just a busy season conversation. It's not that. It's not a busy season conversation. This is a health and safety conversation. You see, my friend has a schedule that stays packed. She has to be at work by 7 a.m., which means she's out of the door by 6 a.m. She works a full 9 hour day, then heads to the gym on some days. And on top of that, she takes classes 3 times a week. And on her so called off days, she goes back into the office to catch up on whatever didn't get finished during the week. So, when does she breathe? Okay, when does she breathe? She has one day to do everything else: run errands, wash clothes, handle life, and still have to study. Okay, and so one evening, I called her around the time I thought she'd be home, and she didn't answer. So I left a message, a voicemail message, to call me when she gets settled in because I had something I truly needed to talk to her about, not to mention that we had a Zoom call scheduled for that evening, but I wanted to talk to her prior to the call. Well, she didn't call me back that night. She didn't even get on the Zoom. She didn't call me back the next morning. She didn't call me back until her lunch break the following day. So I asked her, "Why didn't you call me sooner?" And she said, "When I got home, I laid across the bed and I didn't wake up until it was almost time for me to get up and go to work the next day." Now, Seeds, I need you to come in a little closer because I want you to hear me and hear me well. Come on in a closer, a little bit closer, closer. Okay. Now, here's the thing. When your body does that, that is not a nap. That is your body pulling an emergency brake. That is your body pulling an emergency brake. Okay? So I said to my friend, "That sounds like burnout." And she replied, "No, I feel energized. I work out every day. I drink my protein shakes. I feel healthy. I'm fine." But what my friend doesn't realize is this: burnout doesn't always show up as feeling tired. Sometimes it shows up as body running on adrenaline while your mind and memory starts to slip. Because here's what she's forgetting. The same evening she passed out, we had a Zoom call scheduled. Remember, I said that. And she completely forgot about it. 2 days before that, she forgot I was stopping by her house to drop off something, that she needed for a presentation the following day. And a couple of weeks prior to that, she burned her eggs. She burned her eggs. And let me tell you what happened with that. Because it sounds small, but until you understand what it really means, you're going to think it's small, but it's not. She put a pot of water on the stove to boil eggs. She turned the burner on and walked away. Okay, that's it. She forgot about it until she smelled something burning and heard a loud pop. Okay, there was no water left in this pot. The eggs were ruined. The pot was scorched. Now, in a different situation, you'd laugh and probably move on. But in a burnout situation, you have to pause and ask, what if it wasn't eggs? What if it wasn't eggs? What if it was the oven? What if it was the car? What if it was you or her falling asleep at the wrong moment? And I have another story about that. hmm And then there was the irritability with my friend. She was snapping, yelling at her dog for knocking over the water bowl, and reacting when she walked into the house, reacting when the dog jumped on her, moving around as if it was an emergency the second she walks through the door. She had nothing to do. She was just yelling at the dog. But she says she's not burnt out. And that's the part I want to understand. I want you to understand. I want her to understand. You can feel energized and still be dangerously depleted. Because when your body starts forcing sleep, when your memory starts slipping, when your patience is gone, when small things become big explosions, those aren't personality traits. Those are warning lights. And ignoring warning lights doesn't make them go away. It just means you're driving toward a breakdown with the volume turned up. So, yeah, she says she's fine, but I'm listening. I'm listening to what her body is saying. And I want to tell all of us something I told my friend. So come in a little closer one more time. Come on in. Listen to this. Just because you feel energized doesn't mean you're not burnt out. And here's why: adrenaline can feel like energy, but it's not. Pressure can feel like purpose, but it isn't. And survival mode can look like productivity, but you're just going nowhere fast. Your body knows the truth, and your body keeps receipts. Okay? So today we're going to break down what burnout really is, the signs and symptoms, the danger zone, including those moments your body falls asleep or shuts down, and how it hits your immune system, your mindset, and your emotions, and then how it takes you out of alignment and outside of your purpose. And by the end, we're not just going to identify burnout, we're going to talk about how, to come back from it, to come home to yourself, to come home to your rhythm. Okay, and just one more time, just another quick reminder before we go even deeper, because we're going to go a little deep. This isn't medical advice. And if you're experiencing sudden sleep episodes or extreme fatigue or anything that feels unsafe, please seek medical help immediately. I love you guys. I want to keep you safe. All right. Now, what burnout really is? Some call it burning the candle from both ends. But let's define it in real language. Burnout is what happens when your body and brain are carrying more than they can recover from. It's not just being busy, it's chronic stress without the proper recovery and adequate rest. And here's the twist: burnout doesn't always show up as sleepy. Sometimes it shows up as irritability, touchiness and grumpy and impatient, like my friend was with her dog. Let's say you're in a grocery line and the person at the register gets their total and it's, let's say, $30.56, okay? And so they reach for their coin purse to get the exact change and you get an attitude. And some of you will actually speak out about it. I've seen this happen way too many times. And you get an attitude and things blow up, and that's not okay. That's irritability. Let's say someone is crossing the street. I've seen this happen as well. Someone's crossing the street in front of your car and the light changes and they're only halfway across, but they don't hurry to get out of your way. Your patience or your irritability immediately wants to force them to get out of your way. And you not only blow your horn, but lean on it and start yelling at them. Mm-hmm. Is this you? Is this you? You know who you are out there. Guilty. Okay? Sometimes burnout shows up as, numbness, feeling detached from a situation or a person's emotions when you should be showing them compassion, but instead you become distant and cold. Okay, let's say you're a supervisor and one of your employees call into work to let you know their child is not feeling well and they may need to take them to an urgent care. Okay, you know this employee has a child with a medical condition. You know that. And instead of showing compassion, you ask them, "What time will you be in? How long do you think this is going to take?" Or if they will still be able to come in at all. That's a lack of compassion. Now, listen, I've worked in leadership roles all of my career, and I know that some people, employees, can at times, and they do the most to get out of coming to work. Okay, I know that. But I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about a known situation of an employee having an unhealthy child whom you know about. And you know that that person can't take the risk of not getting that child emergency or medical care anytime they have the slightest of symptoms. If you lack compassion for them, that's numbness. This may be a sign of burnout, okay? Not judging, but we just want to pay attention to our actions, okay? And then another way that burnout shows up is brain fog. Not being able to think clearly or on your toes like you used to. Headaches, for no reason, at least no reason that seems obvious to you. You may say to yourself, where is this headache coming from? I've had that happen. Anxiety, feeling uneasy about nothing or everything, constant worry or being apprehensive, afraid to make the simplest of decisions with certainty. That feeling like you can't enjoy anything anymore. And then forgetfulness, forgetting small things, absent-mindedness as you walk into the kitchen, let's say, to get a bottle of water. And when you get there, you forget why you went into the kitchen for something as simple as a bottle of water, you know? Snapping at people that you love, being short-tempered, not being able to tolerate the small insignificant things, like getting angry when a loved one calls to check on you while you're taking a nap. They don't know you're taking a nap. They're just calling to check on you. Okay? And you get upset about that. Or if someone doesn't say thank you for holding the door, you hold the door open for them and they forget to say thank you. Maybe their mind is 1,000 miles away because a lot of us out here are suffering from burnout. And so we're disconnected sometimes from reality. We're so deep into our thoughts that we're not paying attention. So you hold the door for that person and they walk through and didn't say thank you. Instead of brushing it off, you get upset and you lash out at them, embarrassing them and humiliating them. Yeah, you may have burnout. If you need caffeine for energy, guilty. If you need caffeine for energy or just to feel like a person, yeah, just to feel like a person, you may be suffering from burnout. Burnout is your internal system saying to you, we don't have enough fuel for this pace, the pace that you're setting. Your internal system is saying that it doesn't have enough fuel for the pace. But if you don't slow down willingly, I'm telling you, your body will slow you down for you. And it usually doesn't send a cute calendar invite. Trust me. I know this one oh so well. Now let's talk about the conversation I had with my good friend because it's real. So we're going to go back to that. So sometimes people say, I'm not burnt out. I feel energized. Well, that's you, your brain, your thoughts, sending your body fake news. That's what that is. It's a burnout trap. And let me tell you why. Just consider this adrenaline. Adrenaline feels like energy. Your body is built to help you survive. Okay. When you're under constant pressure, stress hormones can keep you up, they can keep you going, keep you moving. But that's not thriving. That's your body overcompensating. It's entered survival mode. It's running on fumes. Like when your gas light comes on, but you can go about 3 miles more before the car gives out of gas. But at 2 miles, you realize that the car is running off fumes. There's no gas left in the tank. And the car could quit on you at any time if you don't pull over and refuel. Well, your body operates in a very similar fashion. Very similar. Momentum can mask damage. When you've been pushing for months, you can get used to running on fumes. But just because you're moving doesn't mean you're okay. It does not mean that. You see, growing up, my dad was an entrepreneur on top of his regular job. He ran his own auto mechanic shop. And the cars back then weren't built the way they are today. They didn't have all the electronics and high-tech systems that practically tell you what's wrong with the car. Back then, you had to listen, you had to troubleshoot, and you had to figure it out. Well, my dad was a genius at his craft. And one thing he used to tell us, once we were old enough to start driving ourselves, he would tell us, don't keep running your gas tank down to low. Not often. Don't do that too often because over time, it can damage the fuel pump. Okay. And I always kept that in my mind. And today's episode reminds me of that, just of that. The truth is, the body operates the same way. It operates the same way. You can be productive and still be unwell. Some of the most burnout people, they look high functioning. They're working, they're smiling, they're posting, they're helping everybody. But inside, they are drained, disconnected, and deteriorating. So if you've been telling yourself, I'm fine because I'm still performing, seeds. That's not proof. That's a red flag. Yeah, it's a red flag. All right, so let's get practical. Let's get practical. I'm going to break down some signs of burnout into three categories: physical, mental, and emotional. And although, they are in categories, they can, and in many cases, they tie together. Okay? The physical signs: constant fatigue. You're tired, weak, lethargic, even after sleep or especially after sleep. Insomnia, unable to sleep, restless, tired, but unable to fall asleep sometimes. Headaches, muscle tension, muscle aches, jaws clenching while you're awake or while you're asleep. And we're talking about the physical signs of burnout. You might have stomach issues, nausea, acid reflux, nervous stomach, you know, frequent colds or lingering sickness, weight changes, up and down, changes in your appetite, heart racing or feeling on edge for no reason, just overly anxious. Okay, those are physical signs. Some of the mental signs might include brain fog, where you can't focus, can't retain information, decision fatigue. Everything feels hard, or you have a fear of making a decision. You might be forgetful, like my friend. Yeah, she has this problem. Negative thinking loops. Ooh, you've become a Debbie Downer, always pessimistic and cynical, doubtful, gloom and doom, bringing down the enthusiasm. Now listen, this just crossed my mind. I don't, I don't know why, but I better go ahead and put that out there. Debbie is not referring to a person per se. Okay, when I say Debbie Downer, I'm not referring to a person per se. Okay, but a mood, a way of thinking. It's a slang term. So if your name is Debbie or you know a Debbie, please don't take this literally. It's not meant to describe you, just a certain mood. Okay, I promise. All right. So other mental signs, they may include, feeling overwhelmed by normal tasks or procrastination because your brain is overloaded. Mhm. Yeah. Some of the emotional signs may include irritability. We talked about this, the snapping and the low patience. Again, this was something my friend was doing as well. Numbness, lack of motivation, anxiety, dread, heaviness. You see how these signs all tie together? They all tie together: physical, mental, and emotional. Sadness. Sadness you can't explain. You don't know where it's coming from. You just feel sad. Feeling disconnected from people, feeling like you're failing, even when you're doing a lot. These are signs of burnout. And here's a big one. Here's a big one. Not that they aren't all significant, because they are, but burnout can make you emotionally unavailable. Not because you don't care, because you don't have the capacity to care. And this one ruins relationships, it's ruined marriages. Burnout is a real thing. It's a real thing. And seeds, I'm going to stop right here and I'll tell you why. Because, again, as I stated before, I started out with one episode, but when I started breaking it down, it was well over an hour and a half. And so I thought to myself, I better break this down in a three-part series. So we're about 25 minutes in. So I'm going to stop it right here. All right. But before I go, I want to leave you with these three questions just to reflect on until our next time together. And then I want you to do three things for me, okay? So here we go. The three reflection questions. I want you to write these down. Write them down and then be very open and candid with yourself. All right? Question one: where am I running on adrenaline instead of peace? Ask yourself that. And then number two: what have I been ignoring in my body? What is going on with your body that you're ignoring and just brushing it off as nothing? We talked about all of these things. So go back and listen if you need to listen to it again. You want to know the signs and symptoms. If you resonate with any of them, write those things down. What have I been ignoring in my body? And then question number three: if my life had a fuel gauge, what level am I living on most days? And what is that costing me long term? Remember my dad, okay? Remember, he told us, don't let that fuel pump, that fuel keep running low, because it's going to damage the fuel pump over time. So imagine that your life has a fuel gauge, and what level are you running on most days? Are you half full? Are you full? Or are you running on fumes? Okay. And if you're running on fumes, what do you think that would cost you long term? We're going to get more into this tomorrow. Okay. Now, sees, if this message resonated with you, do three things for me. Do three things for me today, because we need to get this word out. Too many people are walking around burnt out, getting sick, and even passing away. Oh, yeah, people pass away. The body breaks down. So I need you to do these three things today before you swipe left or put your phone or laptop to sleep. I need you to do this. Share this episode with someone who's been strong for too long. Share this episode. Number two, drop a comment. Drop a comment. Are you always on or in overload? Okay. Or if you're good, drop a comment. And then number three, promise me that you'll return tomorrow for part two, where we'll be discussing when your body pulls the plug. You see, if your energy is coming from pressure to perform, fear of loss or failure, and adrenaline, be it your body's natural epinephrine or foreign substance, that's not fuel, that's burnout. It's stress. This takes us out of alignment. And you may have entered the danger zone. Think about that. So tune in for part two when your body pulls the plug. Seeds, I love you, and we're going to align or realign together. So come on back, join us. And until next time, refill before you run empty. Your purpose needs you whole. Bye for now.